Welcome to the Windows Central Podcast, episode 36 for February 10th, 2017. Hey everybody, Daniel Rubino here, joined again with Zach Bowden for another live podcast. Of course, you may be also listening to this later on in syndication, but we are here back with another semi-exciting week in Windows 10 and Microsoft news. Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Hanging in there, definitely catching up on a lot of our hardware reviews. Got some exciting laptops I'm reviewing this week. And let me run down through the show notes for this week. We'll be talking about Developer Day, so that happened earlier this week. And Microsoft basically did a presentation online where they announced a bunch of new things for devs, which are kind of cool. We'll also talk about the new Insider rings, the fast ring builds that came out for PC. And then, I believe a day or two later, came out for mobile, which was a little bit lackluster. But then there's also the Cloud Win32 app block bypass, which Zach will explain to us what that all means and why it's interesting. There's a new Logitech 4K webcam on the market. And in fact, I believe Zach's actually using that right now for the video podcast here. I have one coming, but because of my blizzard that happened yesterday, UPS is, I don't know what they're doing with it. We'll also wrap it up with some reviews. We took a look at the HP Spectre X360 15, as well as the HP Envy 34-inch curved all-in-one. Those are mouthfuls, but we'll talk about our thoughts on those, as well as the launch of our new laptop buyer's guide, which is very cool. Let's head into Developer Day. Zach, this was a cool Microsoft event that was announced a few weeks ago, went live around noon Eastern time. And what was the big stuff that kind of came out of this? I mean, it's always a little hard getting developer news and then translating it into what this actually means for consumers, mostly because what happens today is usually not going to be seen by consumers for another 6 months. But what are your thoughts on what Microsoft did this week?
Well, I think the most interesting sort of unveiling they did, it wasn't even unveiling, it was more of a tease, was that they officially teased Project Neon, which is something we've spoken about many times in the past. Project Neon, for those who don't know, is Microsoft's upcoming design language refresh for Windows 10. And up until the Developer Day, we hadn't actually seen any concepts that were from Microsoft. We'd seen concept leak, which I guess were from Microsoft internal docs. However, Microsoft had just a concept of Project Neon in the background of one of their slides, and they, on the front of it, it was the goal for the Redstone Wave is to make it easy for developers to build beautiful and unique blah blah apps and whatnot. So it looks like Microsoft for the foreseeable future will be focusing on making beautiful apps and making it easy for developers to make beautiful apps, which is kind of what we've been saying originally when we first read about Project Neon back in late 2016. The idea for Project Neon is to add lots of blur, translucency, animations, fluidity, and to kind of unify the UI between HoloLens, desktop, mobile, Xbox, and so on and so forth. So it's an exciting design language update, I believe, anyway, because from the concepts we've seen, it looks like they're going to update the taskbar to be... Oh, thank you, Alexa. It's going to be...
You have an Alexa?
I have an Alexa. Damn it! Now cover's been blown. I'm a full-on Amazon nerd, guys. No, I'm joking. The Project Neon stuff, so it looks like they're updating the taskbar. It looks like they're going to get rid of the 1 pixel border around Windows, which I personally think is a little gross currently, so I'm glad that's happening. Lots of the apps will become sort of borderless, so the actual contents from the app itself will reach the very edge of the window, which is similar to what macOS does right now. Again, it's a very nice design change, and hopefully if these concepts are what they stick to, we will actually get this starting with Redstone 3, as the schedule suggests, the internal schedule suggests that Redstone 3 will be where Project Neon first starts showing up in bulk. So what do you think, Dan, on the Project Neon stuff?
The neon stuff is cracking me up because every time now a piece of translucency shows up in an app, I get tweets going, is this Project Neon? And it's really hard to say because some of it is just developer choice. Like, there's no reason why developers can't use translucencies now, in certain instances. And we haven't really seen the full guidelines yet from Microsoft regarding this change to the Microsoft design language. But I do think it looks great. It's funny, that little border that you mentioned, if you look at your universal Windows apps that run on desktop right now, that little border does bother a lot of people. I've seen a lot of complaints about that ever since it first came out. It doesn't bother me, but I kind of get once you see it, it's kind of hard to unsee and sort of like, why is it there kind of thing. But this idea of what's neat about it is it's taking the desktop and going, okay, how can this UI live on different systems, specifically holographic? And we want to make a UI that works and looks good on your desktop PC and laptop, but also transcribes to this new mixed reality world which we're moving to. And this shows a lot of, foresight by Microsoft. They know, and we've talked about this before, the desktop as is, it's going to be around forever. We'll always sort of need desktop computers, but there's no doubt that the modality at which we use these interfaces and these operating system is going to be shifting. And so they're adjusting their UI already for this. It's really interesting because if you look at today, the big review for the Samsung Chromebooks hit all the major tech sites. And the big complaint there was, of course, you can run Android apps on this thing, but it's terrible because Android apps have like 3 modes. It's like this, it looks like a phone, it's full screen if it supports tablet, and I forgot what the third one is. But they're already running into this issue of like, it's not that easy just to take an app and just go, it's now on a bigger screen, and that's the end of the story, we're done. There's a lot more to this. And Microsoft's already solving this problem. They're in the midst of solving it and getting it there, where Google is just like discovering like, oh, this is a lot harder than it actually looks. So I find it all super fascinating. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room here, which is mobile. A lot of people are going, well, how come we don't see this on mobile? And you have to think about this. Translucency actually makes no sense on mobile. When you're on a mobile device and you fire up an app, you're not keeping that app like, it's not windowed, it's full screen. So the idea of like seeing stuff behind it, I guess they could do that. I just don't see any real benefit. Like, what are you going to show behind it? Your start menu? I guess you could. That seemed to me would be distracting. On the desktop, it makes a little bit more sense, I think. And it makes more sense because it's supposed to be holographic. The idea is that when that app is floating, the text and content that you're supposed to be focusing on, it's there, it's concentrated, but any sort of design elements that aren't important are kind of, they're going to be the translucent ones so that you fade into the background a bit. That's the concept behind it. That doesn't really transcribe to mobile as is. So while devs will be free to do this stuff, we may see it in sub-menus. We haven't really seen that much yet. Like within an app, when you hit like the little elliptical dots, does a sub-menu come up that's translucent. That could be a thing, but I don't expect you guys to see it on mobile in the same instance as you see it on desktop, laptops, and of course holographic. But no, it's kind of cool to see. Hopefully, a build will get a little bit more, information on how this actually all comes together.
Yeah, the Developer Day conference actually saw quite a few announcements from Microsoft. They also demoed Cortana Skills, I think it's called. Cortana Skills Kit, which is a thing for developers which allows them to sort of integrate Cortana into their apps and allow users to complete tasks and get things done. Microsoft says on their website, from basic mobile deep links to full integration of your bots and services, the Skills Kit provides all the tools and docs you need to promote your services and engage users through the Cortana experience. They also demoed some cool sort of ways developers can take advantage of the Surface Dial, which is something we've seen only really work on the Surface Studio as of right now. But the idea was in this app, you could place the Surface Dial on 4 specific locations in the app and adjust things like exposure in an image, brightness, and a bunch of other things. So it's kind of useful interactions like that with certain peripherals. And basically the whole day was just Microsoft showing off their developer platform and the stuff coming in the Creators Update that developers can take advantage of. The Creators Update will enable new capabilities for apps that use pen, the Surface Dial, and ink. So I
should also mention with the Surface Dial, one of the reasons why you may be asking, like, why not just use a slider? How is this any different? One of the neat things about the dial is the granularity and the movement of it. There's already some apps and some developers have been playing around with this, like specifically in photo apps where you do like things like exposure or filters. The way the dial works, it's way more sensitive. So a simple few little clicks gives you very minute changes. It's a lot more sensitive. And so that fine granular control that you can do with the dial is really hard with a slider, which is sort of like, it's just harder to sort of get that fine graininess. It's just not as intuitive. While using the dial, though, it's a lot nicer. Like it's a very interesting experience to be able to use that. Now, straight up consumers may not see an immediate benefit for that, but again, for professionals, people doing photography and video editing, it could definitely be a very useful tool for them.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited. So Microsoft really only sort of spoke about their developer stuff for the creators update. They didn't really mention Redstone 3 stuff, I don't believe, and that's likely because it was just not ready yet. And Redstone 3 will be a thing to talk about when build rolls around in May, which they did also touch on. They did say that build will be in May 10th to the 12th or something. So it's not far away now. So the developer day was just kind of Microsoft updating developers and just sort of giving them a recap of what's coming in the creators update. And build will be where Microsoft talk about all the new things coming later, outside of the Project Neon tease, which they kind of gave. And by tease, I mean they didn't even acknowledge it. They just put up a PowerPoint slide and it was in the background, like, oh, there it is, there's Project Neon. So I'm actually pretty excited for all of this developer stuff. As somebody who isn't a developer, it means developers can build fantastic apps on the Windows platform, and that is obviously good news.
Yeah, it seems to be that they're also, besides this holographic thing and mixed reality and planning apps around the future for that, seems to be this new stage of development for them where it's like, okay, we got the base down, right? UWP's here, we got the basics. How do we now, of course, make it nicer looking? And that's always a thing that people, sort of criticize Windows 10. It's a little barren. You can already see it with the creators update in settings now. There's going to be, there's a lot more. People always said there's all this empty space that's nothing there, and now in the creators update you're seeing it's all this help stuff and chat to people and here's more help, and so now they're finally starting to utilize that space. So now it seems like they got the foundation. Now they're starting to add the the nice external finish to it. So I think that's going to be an ongoing process, of course. What's really interesting, and we'll be hopefully getting Donna Sarkar on here at some point in the next few weeks, and we can talk about this. It's just like this idea that Windows 10, Windows as a service, as they call it, is a project that we've known about. But like, what does it mean long term? Like, how long does this go on for? How long is the Insider program going to go on for? And it's kind of weird because people are used to betas, but they're also used to betas sort of ending. And it's like, okay, here's the product, and now we'll just sort of fix little things here and there. There's no clear evidence that's what's going to happen to Windows 10. So it's like, it's funny, they released Windows 10, it works, it does its, thing, and now they keep building out all these new features and stuff like that. It's like, how, are we going to be 3-4 years still doing this? Now, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a paradigm shift in how people need to think about software and where it's going. It's a really just this different experience, I think, to think about how long all this testing and new features are going to be going on with insiders. I don't know. It's
I think that's an interesting topic because from how I've taken the Insider program, the idea is that it won't ever end. With Windows as a service, it will continue being a service for as long as Windows is a product that can exist on the market. So the way I look at it is kind of like an infinite train on a track, and it has stops along the track, and once you're on the train, you're on the train until the next train station, in which I consider the train station being the next release of Windows where they consider it done. If you stay on the train, then you're on the train until the next major release. I mean, obviously you can jump off any time, but the idea is you stick on till the next station, and then you can hop off at that station if you want to leave the program and be done beta testing. However, if you don't want to be done beta testing, you can stay on the train, ride on to the next station, and then maybe you might feel like you're done there, or maybe not. That's kind of how I look at it. It might be kind of a silly way to look at it, but that kind of is a good way to sort of explain it to somebody who doesn't understand what the term beta means in the sense of the Insider program, which I also believe is why they don't really use the word beta anymore. They say Insider preview. They've never really said beta. The last time they said beta was, I think, the Windows 8. No, it didn't even say betas then. They said consumer preview and release preview. They never really said Windows 8 beta. Windows 7 beta would have been the last time they used beta openly. So I think, the word beta confuses people.
Yeah, which also, just mention quickly that when it comes to language, there's things like Project Neon. Now, like a lot of our audience knows, we mention Project Neon, a bell goes off in their head, they know exactly what that means, but there's no reason to believe Microsoft will ever use that phrase or refer to it as that publicly. These are internal names, but they refer to for projects. I think we'll talk about this a little bit too on this week's Insider update with the overlay. I forgot what it's called. It's got like a 3-word kind of thing. And it's like people are like, couldn't they come up with a better name? And I'm like, that name isn't for consumers. People are just going to see it's like, oh, that's that windowed thing, But they don't need to know. Just like how I can guarantee I could take half our audience and go, give me the proper name for this part of the OS or in the taskbar, like what this thing is actually called. And I guarantee most people won't get the actual technical name for it because it's not important to you. You're not supposed to know those things. So it's important that, to make the distinction out of these internal names when we talk about them aren't going to be anything. Like I guarantee Microsoft will never say Project Neon publicly. They're just not going to. It's just going to be Microsoft Design Language 2.1 update or something like that. So,
right.
And even Microsoft Design Language, it's not a consumer-facing thing. That's a developer thing, right? All you have to know is like the UI for Windows 10 and what it is.
Even then, UI might be a stretch for normal people. What's UI
yeah,
mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because then you get to UI, UX, what all that means and how it differs. Sure. Yeah. And that's always the tough part of our job. It's like we talk about these things openly, but then people are judging it on those terms, and you got to make that separation between developers, consumers, and what Microsoft does internally. Those are very separate things.
So moving on to the actual new build that came out this week, we had a build for mobile and desktop. Desktop came first, mobile came second. The desktop build, surprisingly, actually had a new feature, which at this late in development is kind of a surprise. It had what Dan was talking about, the compact overlay window feature, which is essentially picture-in-picture for desktop. So you can have a window playing a video, for example, and instead of having it as an actual window, you can sort of shrink it up to, say, sit in the top right corner, have it overlay all of your desktop programs and stuff, and still work on something in the background. So if you've ever seen a picture-in-picture mode before on anything, really, that's basically what it is, but for certain apps that support it. So Microsoft says, what does it say? Some tasks don't require the user's full attention, but it's perfect to leave at the corner of the screen. So we're introducing a new compact overlay mode for universal Windows apps. When an app area enters compact overlay mode, it will be shown above the other windows so it won't get blocked. The best part is the compact overlay window works just like normal windows in all other ways, so app developers can tailor the experience and do magic things. So basically, it's picture-in-picture. There's also dynamic lock. So I don't think we spoke about on the podcast.
Hold on. I just want to go back to the picture-in-picture thing, because like some real-world instances of that would be Skype video calls, right, where you can leave the video just playing in the corner of the screen while you do other tasks. It'll just be kind of locked on top of the screen. Opera does this right now with YouTube videos, where you can pop out the YouTube video and move it around your screen, which is really useful if you're watching like a TED Talk. You don't need to be seeing everything necessarily, but you want it to play. Now, it's cool developers get to do that. There's also strong evidence to believe that this is what's going to be happy on Xbox. So believe it or not, there were some people who were actually upset on the Xbox preview that they got rid of snap mode. And conceptually, snap mode is dead. It's gone. It's not coming back. But that doesn't mean multitasking on the Xbox is gone. We reported, well, I should say Jez Corden reported back in November on our site that this picture-in-picture thing is coming, and that's how you'll be able to do that kind of same task. And it's funny because when you look at the composite shots that we made and what we heard when we reported back in November, and you see what they just did in Windows 10 for developers, is almost exactly the same. And it makes total sense, right? We know Xbox is becoming more like Windows 10 in at least areas where it makes sense. So this feature is going to be something else we're going to start to see for Xbox as it comes back, probably in the next few weeks too. So that's definitely kind of exciting.
The other noteworthy feature in the build this week for desktop was dynamic lock. Now, dynamic lock actually showed up in a build quite a while ago, and we actually wrote about it. We heard that internally it was referred to as Windows Goodbye. But at the time, we were unsure whether it was a Windows Hello specific feature or something else, and it turns out it's something else. It's a Bluetooth related feature in which you pair your phone to your device via Bluetooth, and if you walk away from the device and say your phone disconnects from your PC because you're too far away and Bluetooth can't reach no more, the device will just lock. So that's what they consider dynamic locking. I would have much preferred it to be a Windows Hello thing where it just kind of detects if you're in front of the camera or not. Then after inactivity and you not being present in front of the camera, it will lock your PC. Unfortunately, that doesn't appear to be the case. What's even more funny is they introduced this feature, which is a pretty much Bluetooth requirement. It needs Bluetooth, and at the same time broke Bluetooth. So unless you had your phone already connected to Bluetooth on the previous build, you can't actually set it up unless you go through a different route, which I think has been detailed on Windows Central. So
yes,
check the site
we
for
posted
that.
We posted a tutorial on Thursday night. Maro did. You just basically go through the old control panel, which still has ins into the Bluetooth and pairing area. I haven't had a chance to try this yet. I've heard mixed things, but it's also important to remember this is still being tested, so it's going to be refined and improved. Bluetooth is always tricky, but I've heard some people say it doesn't really lock in 30 seconds, and they've had some issues there. It's a neat idea. This idea of, Windows Hello and tying into secondary devices was announced last year, and now we're starting to see more of it. I talked about YubiKey before. YubiKey does this too, where it acts as a secondary device for authentication. Someone just gave us glitter on our site. Beam. That was kind of fun. Oh, that's because I guess we got 100 viewers. I don't know. But yeah, so this idea is kind of neat. I do like this idea a lot. I think it's just great for security. It's also about convenience. I think the long-term idea, of course, is that you have also maybe a band or something like that, or some kind of wearable, and as you approach the computer, same thing. It detects you're there, unlocks the PC, and locks when you leave. And that's the future we kind of all want, right? That's smart technology for you.
I've heard right now that the feature is a bit iffy. For example, some people have been just sitting at their PC, their phone on their desk, using the device and the phone, because I guess maybe they might have been using a Windows 10 Mobile device. Windows 10 Mobile doesn't have the best Bluetooth connectivity. Sometimes it will drop out for no reason and connect shortly after. That's been happening with people using Windows phones, and the Windows has just gone, oh, you've gone away, lock, as they're using the machine. So there is some fine tuning to do, of course. This is still in preview. Hopefully Microsoft,
Bluetooth is one of the most fascinating, awesome, and frustrating technologies to exist. And this isn't just a Microsoft problem. I've used my iPhone in the car, and I swear, I could get in my car, turn it on, and probably drive about 2 minutes before my music will be able to play. It takes that long to connect. And I have a modern car. It's like a 2013 or 14 Honda Accord. It's nothing, it's got new Bluetooth in it, for all intents and purposes. But even with the iPhone, it's still not a perfect experience, and I get weird issues that happen. My Windows Phone, meanwhile, pairs a lot quicker, and I can start listening to my music a lot faster. So, but then you get into issues with Cortana, navigation. I don't know, for being a standard, there's still a lot of issues with Bluetooth, and it makes it a little bit frustrating.
The final noteworthy change in this build was a new share icon. Yay! They updated the share icon to just something else, and it's in the build. And on the mobile side of things, here's what's new in mobile. Are you ready for this? Prepare yourselves. What's new? New share icon. That's it. That's the only thing that's new in this build. They updated the icon for share, and they released an entire build.
It's not even in their own apps yet. I mean, someone tweeted me. It's in the alarms apps, and there was voice recorder. And then I think Tweetium is using it, so third-party apps can have access to it. And there's just a couple other ones. But yeah, I immediately went to my Photos app. I was like, oh, let me see this new share icon. And it's not there. So it's yeah, that's definitely anticlimactic. Yeah.
It's definitely a bug fix and under the hood build, like most of the mobile builds have been for this release. And as I was actually speaking to Dan before the stream went on air, what it appears to be happening is Microsoft is working on bug fixes and just improving things under the hood with all of these releases. And if Microsoft continue down this road, by 2018, Microsoft are going to have a rock solid mobile platform that has no issues and it's just rock solid, because all they've done for the last 2 years is fix bugs, which I wouldn't say is a bad thing, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, and actually Particle Part makes a good point in Beam. I forgot to mention that the Outlook, or Mail app, I should say, got colorful icons. And that sounds kind of silly, but this is actually a feature people have been asking for a long time. And most of us, I guarantee, are using dark mode and the Mail app. And with these color icons, it looks really awesome, even on mobile. It just I don't know, the Mail app is a little bit more fun to use. I still want to see that, of course, in messaging. I want to see it in the People Hub. Hopefully I'm sure it will go there at some point. But they do seem to be fine-tuning things. For instance, let's take Groove. Groove went through a huge transformation last year, but Groove has really slowed down. There really been no new features in Groove. And to be honest, it's not a bad thing. I don't know what else. Groove is pretty feature complete, in my opinion. I mean, there could always be more, but they seem to be sort of tweaking things now, going through refining things. Maps actually did get a pretty major revision in terms of it has a new dark mode color to it for the night maps, and the animation seems to be a lot quicker. So they are doing this more fine tuning, and that's unexciting for people who are expecting, new features, because that's usually how this stuff goes. On the other hand, let's be honest. I mean, the big complaint with Windows 10 Mobile for there's a few, right? There's the app thing, but one of them was about just performance and stability. Mr. Mobile, our friend for the site here, he's a big Windows Phone fan, but he even admits that Windows 10, like he has a tough time using it. He has like a lot of stability and just issues. And that's what they're focusing on. And there was a report about, I think it was on All About Windows Phones. I don't even know if this was scientific, but I can vouch for this, that it's much faster, and it has to do with the way that they're doing the compositing for the graphics. This was mentioned a few builds ago. And basically the way the graphics load in apps now has changed. And the OS is definitely, I'm using my Elite X3, and it's definitely a lot faster and smoother. It could always be better, of course. But if they're focusing on that, I still recommend, if you're on Fast Ring, I still recommend every couple builds, it's a pain, but not really, just roll it back, use WDRT, and then go back to the Fast Ring. Your experience will be a lot better, and you're going to be like, oh, you're going to thank me. You're going to be like, oh, this actually isn't as bad. There are issues, I think, when you keep upgrading through Fast Ring, and that itself is a problem that needs to be worked on, right? But doing that, like my Elite X3 right now, I had to roll it back because of the firmware thing, which is another HP feature. But for those who don't know, the Elite X3 is the exception. You can't get new firmware on the Fast Ring. You have to roll it back to WDRT. It's just, I don't know why, but it just is. But Fast Ring actually is actually really good on this device, and I can definitely, because I have two Elite X3s. That's how I know. I have a production and I have a Fast Ring. I use them both. I swap them. I can tell you, Fast Ring performance is a lot better. So, as you said, these bug fixes, under the hood things, it's important, especially because it lays the groundwork for potential more future changes coming down the road.
Yeah, no, I'm for one, I'm okay with it. So I think that's pretty much it for the PC mobile builds. Moving on to Windows 10 Cloud, which has been a hot topic for the last couple of weeks because it emerged through various reports that Windows 10 Cloud would be a Chromebook sort of OS competitor in the sense that it will only allow users to download apps and games from the Windows Store, similar to how Windows RT used to do its thing. Now, this has kind of been met with some controversy between some people, some such as Tim Sweeney, maybe one of the people who are not a fan. Others, such as me, I'm okay with the idea. I kind of like the idea of being locked to the Windows Store because, for one, it's security. If you can't run applications from the web, then there's no way anybody can come into your PC and just download a virus and just have it run because it won't execute because it has to come through the Windows Store. Now, it does appear that this app block isn't entirely concrete. It is, again, the build that this was tested on is still in preview. Microsoft can, if they wanted to, I guess, fix it, although I don't think they will. But the Win32 app block has been bypassed. Now, it does require the user to do some things specifically first, so it's not really a security issue in that sense. It's more of a thing that, professionals, I guess, or just people who like to tweak things and like to just break things can do, so that you can jump into however it is you do it. The person who was able to bypass the block hasn't actually revealed how they did it yet. I think they're waiting until the cloud edition is released officially, so they can obviously release the method, I guess. But it is interesting to see that it will be possible. More so because when you look at the build itself and realize that it appears Microsoft will be attempting to sell you an upgrade to Windows Pro to actually get your Win32 programs working anyway, it's kind of cheeky. So I guess in some instances, if you can bypass the block, that's great for those of you who can't afford a Windows Pro license. But I think for the majority of people who have a Windows Cloud device, if they really need Win32, they'd either have gone for a Windows Pro device in the first place or just pay for the license. Speaking of the actual cloud edition, lots of people seem to think it's a Chromebook OS competitor and that it will be aimed at consumers. However, I don't think that's the case at all. I definitely think it'll be much more... I don't
think that. I spent a whole last week talking about that.
I know, but I've been talking to people, and it appears enterprise is, and schools. So,
which totally makes sense.
Right, exactly. And that explains the ability to upgrade to a sort of air quotes better edition of Windows, because the enterprise users can say, right, if this device here is Windows Store only, we admission our enterprise apps through the Windows Store, because I believe the Windows Store has that capability. And if you need Win32 from the web, you can obviously pay through here, and here, for example. That makes sense. And I honestly don't think, although I guess Microsoft could decide to have OEMs use cloud as well for low-end devices, but I honestly don't think Microsoft will be releasing consumer products with cloud. I could be wrong, but from what it looks like and from who I've been speaking to.
Technically speaking, an OEM can do whatever they want. They can
Right.
license this and put it out on a consumer device. If they think they can pull it off, they'll pull it off. But again, this goes back to the thing that I'm sure Microsoft hates about leaks. It lacks context. And so immediately people start going, oh, Windows RT, oh, that Microsoft, they just never learn. And it's just like, slow down. Microsoft hasn't actually said anything about this, how they're going to position it, who's this marketed at. You know, if you say it's only going for, say, education and enterprise, all of a sudden, why would consumers even care about this? It has nothing to do with them. Whereas it makes total sense for schools and enterprise. It makes, like, they'd be stupid not to do this for schools and enterprise, because I've argued before that Chromebooks, the reason they're making inroads into U.S. schools is because of how easy they are to manage for security. Microsoft knows this. This is one area they're getting their butt kicked. Well, cut out the Win32 part, the dangerous part where you can get viruses and, you know, all sorts of security issues and things to bypass VPNs and browser restrictions. If you take all that out, all of a sudden schools go, oh, this thing now is basically like a Chromebook, except it has all these cooler apps on it, and it's the same thing that they're used to at home. That's a much better sell. Same with for enterprise. Enterprise has a lot of strict, put it this way, enterprise is so strict. I'm testing now, probably come out in the next week or two, a Dell Latitude laptop. So Latitudes are business enterprise-y things. It has both a fingerprint scanner and facial recognition. It's sort of like the Elite X3. Like, for a lot of consumers, like, why do I need both? And well, I mean, it's not for you. It's for enterprise. Enterprise requires different things, and they can control both or use one of them. It's weird how they have both on there. At the same time, it's a different device. It's the same reason why this device also has a built-in Ethernet port, yet it's only a 12-inch device. You know, so we have to think about this. So I think people here, they need to start listening to this and get in their head that Windows Cloud is not a consumer play, or it's very likely not. Microsoft hasn't confirmed or denied it, but I doubt it's going to be a consumer play. Now, who knows? Samsung may come out with the device that is this, but that's their call. They can do whatever they want.
I think it depends on, because I like I said, as a consumer, I guess, I would be totally fine with Windows Cloud on a certain type of device that I own. I have like a Stream 11 over there, which would be perfect for Windows Cloud, because I'm not going to be running,
right,
you know, the Windows 32 programs.
But that's Microsoft's goal.
From the web.
And that's their goal. Their goal is someday you will just be fine with Windows 10 Cloud, because you're going to have every app you want in the store. Like, for instance, Photoshop Elements, right? You know, that's my go-to photo app. That's what I use. But now it's in the store, and you know, that solves that problem. You know, so someday the idea is Microsoft wants consumers off of Win32 as quickly as possible. This is one of those OSs that's a transition OS for that purpose. So.
I mean, I wouldn't say that the end goal is to block Win32 for everybody. I don't think that will ever happen.
No, it's not to block. It's so that people just go out, what's Win32, you know? It's like who runs a COM or BAT file anymore? Like when I grew up, that was like common, right? Or who defrags their hard drive, you know, if you have an SSD, right? These are things we all used to do and that we thought like would always just be with us, and they're just like not anymore. So, or editing the registry. Yeah, you can still edit the registry, but let's be honest. I mean, in 2017, editing the registry is like a lot less cool than it was 20 years ago, where it was just like common if you want to do anything, right? So.
Yeah, no, it is. I honestly, I do hope Microsoft, because I was also wondering, and this isn't me hearing things, I was just legitimately speculating about this. What if Microsoft aims Windows Cloud as a free version of Windows, not just to OEMs, but just to everybody? So as a Mac user, for example, or as a Linux user, I can go onto Google, type in Windows Cloud, and download an ISO of Windows Cloud without needing to activate it, install it on my machines, and have that, you know, just be able to use it as a free sort of appetizer version of Windows that kind of gets you in on the platform. And if you want the full experience, kind of like a trial, I guess, if you want the full experience, such as being able to run Win32 apps and whatnot, and being able to customize the registry and open command prompt, then you can buy a Windows license. Otherwise, we're happy with you buying apps through the store because we get a cut from it anyway, ads and whatnot. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and that is something they could definitely do. I would say, at least for now, I mean, I haven't turned on my MacBook Pro in like probably a week and a half. But I've never bought a license for that Windows 10. that I installed, Windows 10 Home, and it runs fine. The only thing you can't do is personalization. So you can't change the wallpaper, but you can have the wallpaper sync from another PC. So you can change that wallpaper and sync it over. So that's how I do it. But and you can't go to dark theme, and like you can't, under that personalization thing, it's all blocked out. That's the only thing you can't do. There's no other limitations. So they already kind of do something like that. But yeah, that's one. They could actually like sell Windows 10 Cloud, or sell in quotes, that to consumers as a way to get around that with that kind of restriction. Sure.
Yeah, I would really like that to happen at some point, but I bet it doesn't, because it's a good idea, and Microsoft doesn't listen to good ideas.
Oh, that's...
I'm kidding. Moving on. Logitech. I'm a big fan of Logitech. I love their accessories. They do some crazy, awesome keyboards and mice and webcams. They are behind the pretty popular C920 webcam and C922.
It's like the standard, the de facto webcam.
And now they've released a sort of, I guess, a successor. I wouldn't call it a successor, kind of a different brand of webcam that's just far more powerful and just more capable than the C920 series. So I'm currently using it. You can't see the full benefit since I'm only streaming at 720, but I am using a Logitech Brio 4K, and the 4K stands for 4K. It's a 4K webcam. One of the first. Well, I think it's one of the first on the market.
I'm pretty sure. No, it's definitely the first.
Right.
Which is surprising, but it's not also.
Yeah, at this current point, as of recording this live, it's overkill, because not many video services even allow the ability to stream at 4K. Most of them max out at 1080p. This webcam does do 720 at like high frame rates. It does do 1080 at 60 frame rates, and it can do 4K at 30 frames. So the 4K stuff will be great for those of you who use your webcams to, say, make YouTube videos or offline videos that you then upload later. Then, of course, it downscales to 1080p if you're doing something that only requires 1080p and so on and so forth, such as Skype or whatnot. But the actual camera itself is amazing. It's got HDR and Bright Light 3 support, which is amazing for a webcam. It's also got Windows Hello, which makes it, I think, like the second or third webcam on the market that people can
Although
buy.
I would say this is the first true consumer solution. Right. I mean, I guess you have Razer Stargazer, which can also do it, but that's like niche gaming, and sometimes it's a little bit more than what people want.
Right. But yeah, this has full Windows Hello. It works just like any other Windows Hello device, pretty fast. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. It has omnidirectional mics built in, which I guess is fantastic. It also has that ability, the like sort of Intel RealSense background replacement stuff, so I can virtually put a background behind me without needing a green screen or something. It's not perfect. I actually have a video upcoming, I think tonight, that will sort of give it a demo and an unboxing and stuff. So that should be there, and you can check out the background stuff and whatnot.
What's the price tag?
$199.
Not cheap at all for a webcam.
But it is 4K. So you've got to remember that this is, again, the first 4K webcam on the market. They are going to be expensive for a little while, just like how when 4K TVs first started hitting the market, they were thousands of dollars. Now you can get them for less than $1,000, I believe. So
it's really surprising, too, because it's weird to talk about. I mean, it's strange that the webcam market, like the C920, which is sort of like the go-to, I think came out in 2012. It's like super old. There's been some slight revisions. It's a C922, I believe. I think I'm using one of those. There's been slight revisions, but nothing has really changed, and no one's gone to that 4K mark. And so Logitech's the first. Now, as everybody points out, like, yeah, Skype doesn't support 4K now, but we all know that's going to change. I mean, this is just a matter of timing. It's not like 8 years from now we're still streaming in 1080p. Assuming we still have the world, but no. But I mean, there's all the reason to believe, Skype and other services will get 4K streaming as more people will get more bandwidth. So this camera will be there, and webcams are kind of interesting. They're like, you buy a webcam and you kind of, stick with it for years. It's sort of like iPads, what they learned, Apple learned the hard way, which is that people aren't like, oh, it's now 2018, time for a new iPad. Same thing with webcams. Webcams are definitely in the bottom list of people going, like, upgrading. Unless, I get if you're like a professional streamer or YouTuber, a different case. But for most consumers, you buy one webcam, you're going to use it for 5 years. So this is the kind of webcam you can buy, use it for 5 years, even more. The Windows Hello thing, I think, is like the big, selling point for people, at least in our audience, because they definitely want on older computers, or even me. I'm using right now a new Dell XPS Tower for a review I'm doing. It doesn't have Windows Hello, but I'm using a Logitech C920 webcam on it. So if I could put the Brio on here, I could get my Windows Hello now on this desktop PC. So very cool stuff. Plus the HDR, all this, these kind of buzzwords that are popular in photography now, but they're pretty important for, shooting environments and, with different lighting and stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Mine is on a UPS truck somewhere. We had a blizzard happen yesterday. It was out for delivery. I'm like, this ain't going to happen. And sure enough, now it's just like, there's no estimate. I don't know. So I envision a truck stuck in a snow pile somewhere, and they just haven't fetched the truck yet. But hopefully for next week's podcast, Zach and I will both be on this, and you guys can let us know if you see a difference. Probably not, because this all gets downgraded anyway. That's the other issue, right?
Well, the color will still look great because because the camera I was using before, if you tune into last week's episode, I was using the Intel RealSense, which isn't even a consumer.
That's
webcam,
a developer
it's a
camera.
Developer
right.
camera. So the actual webcam part of it, which
was
is what
okay.
you were seeing,
yeah.
was okay, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it just even at 720, which is what you guys who are streaming right now can see, the colors just make me look better anyway. I'm just much more vibrant. And it's just a clearer picture, and it's just a phenomenal camera even at low resolutions.
Yeah, as someone points out, you can use a Connect 2 on your PC. I've done it. We've done a tutorial, I think, on connecting up to Connect for Windows. It's huge. Like you actually need a tripod for it to mount. It's so big. It's not a solution, I think, for most people. But if you're not, go ahead. Sorry.
What's nice about the Brio 4K is that it also comes with this little sort of clip thing which you can hook on it and close it, so you can cover up the actual webcam itself, which is great for those of you who are sort of privacy conscious.
The business version, I think C925, it looks just like the C920, but silver has that as well. It makes sense for business. It's nice they're doing that for consumer, though.
I mean, I kind of wish that it was attached to it, because I'm going to lose it.
It clips on, doesn't it?
It sits on it. I wouldn't say clip. It sits on top.
Because the C920 one just clips on, and it's like a toilet seat. You just flip it up.
Yeah, no, that's not. I mean, you could in theory. Yeah, I guess I could just leave it up there, but it looks gross. But yeah. I will probably lose it, knowing me. But it is there for those. It comes in the box, so if you buy one, you will get it in the box as well. And it also comes with the most adorable little carrying pouch, so you can actually fold it up and put it all in this little bag, and you can take it with you with the cable and stuff. So if you're a gamer who needs to go places and stream on the go, this is the perfect device for you.
It's funny. The microphone I'm using comes with its own little baggie that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what weird thing to include, but there it is. It's a very good. I can't wait to see services upgrade to 4K support and stuff. I'm really excited. And again, the Windows Hello stuff. I'm a huge fan of Windows Hello, and I'd say even if this webcam was 1080p, well, maybe not $200. If it was like I would still buy it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, we don't count. We're not normal. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this week's hardware review. So first of all, we launched a new laptop buyer's guide that's been in the works for a few years now. So about a little over 2 years ago, when we switched from Windows Phone Central to covering all things Microsoft, one of the goals was to start doing more laptop reviews. And that's an ongoing process for us, both in terms of getting relationships with companies that get devices. I don't do buying a lot because I can, but we also don't want to buy every single laptop, so a lot of companies will loan us a review unit that we send back and stuff. And so we've been building up those relationships. It's also about doing laptop reviews. If you've never done them before, it's a whole thing, right? You got to get into benchmarks. And if you see now when I did with the Surface Studio and the Razer Blades, I do also thermal things. So we've been working really hard on sort of building up our laptop reviews to be something substantial. I hate reviews where it's just paragraphs and it's like, yeah, I kind of liked it, it felt good, and yeah, there you go buy it. I like hard numbers and some science behind stuff, and it's something we've been working on. So this guide, it's if you go to the Windows Central homepage, it's up on top. You can just click it, and it's really cool. If you want to search 13-inch laptops, you click that and it'll give you the best there. If you want to search by Asus or Lenovo, you can click those and just go by what we recommend as the best in those categories. And what's interesting, of course, is those are going to be changing as new devices come out. So last year, my favorite device was the XPS 13. Towards the end of 2016, though, I replaced that with the HP Spectre X360 13-inch, which I thought was just a better buy. I still like the the Dell XPS, but I thought the Spectre kind of beat it out. So look at these guys; they'll be changing and evolving as we do further reviews and everything like that. But if you're in the market, or if you know someone who's just like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a new laptop, just give them that link. You'll get a lot of good information out of it. It's an ongoing project. Someone pointed out, hey, I'm interested in 17-inch laptops. Very cool, but we haven't done too many of those yet, so we haven't come to any firm conclusions about what the best is. I mean, I can tell you the Razer Blade Pro, probably the best 17-inch laptop you're going to buy. On the other hand, that laptop also goes up to $4,500, so not quite the answer everybody's necessarily looking for. But go check that out. Speaking of reviews, I finally got to get my review of the HP Spectre X360 15-inch. So this is a brand new device that was announced at CES. It's actually a revision of the same device that came out a year ago. And it is easily one of my favorite devices out there. I know people are going to immediately ask about the XPS 15, which I actually have right in front of me, the brand new 9560. I'll be reviewing that next week. And we will do a video comparing it to the Spectre, and I'll also do a video comparing it to the Razer Blade, because those are on a continuum of, sort of for features. But the Spectre is just gorgeous. Now, it's a heavy device. It's 4.4 pounds, which is a lot for a dual core machine, but it's all metal. It's all CNC aluminum, single piece cut, just like the Surface Books are done from magnesium. And it's just everything about it, from typing on there. I love the 4K display. The 4K display is not as vibrant as like the Dell XPS one, but I find it easier on my eyes. It's got the Windows Hello facial recognition with dual IR cameras. It turns into a tablet. It does tent mode and all that. It has an active pen. Now, I'll be the first to admit, on a 15-inch, you're probably a little less likely to be using it as a notebook, but a lot of people still would just want that feature. They do like that, and I think it's just cool that that's just part of this. So you go and get it whether you use it or not. And it's a very good pen. It's very much like the Surface Pen. I think they borrowed a lot from Microsoft there, and that's fine. It's a good design, but very good battery life. I just think it looks great. I mean, the black and gold, it's one of the sharpest and nicest looking laptops. In fact, I'll probably say it's the nicest Windows laptop on the market today. Is it better than Surface Book? In some ways, yes. It's got newer components in it. The SSD is actually better than the Surface Book, which I've never been really too impressed with. You get better ports with this, obviously, but they're kind of different devices too, right? The Surface Book is mostly tablet first kind of thing. Well, it's not tablet, it's laptop first, but turns into a tablet and drawing machine, where this is a little bit more in between. You can use this device as just a laptop 100% of the time, and you'll never have to use the X360 stuff. But what I really like about it is the same thing I really like about the 13-inch. It's $14.99, and you're going to get a 4K screen, 512 gigs of storage, and 16 gigs of RAM with a Core i7. Now, it's a dual core, and that's super important. I think for the majority of regular consumers out there, you just need a dual core. It's cool to have a quad core, but if all you're doing is browsing and launching some apps and the occasional Photoshop edit, you're not going to really get the benefit from quad core. It doesn't matter. A store app is going to launch just as fast. For gaming, sure, quad core can definitely do a little bit more. I should also point out it has a 940MX GPU on it. Now, that's an old GPU, came out about 2 years ago, but it's cheap now, and it gets good thermals. And you have to think about this, it's just there as a boost to help the 4K performance, and it does a good job of that. You can do moderate gaming with this, and it looks beautiful. I like Pinball Effects, that's my always go-to game, or Killer Instinct, and both of those look really good. But I think for the value, you can actually go down to $12.79 and get with 256 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM. And I think that's ridiculous. That's a 4K 15-inch laptop you can get for under $1,300. I think that's just, I don't know how they're getting those margins out there, because that's cheap. Put that in perspective, it's like $1,000 less than what the MacBook Pro 15-inch starts at. Now, granted, that's a quad-core machine. It's a little bit different, but there's some significant advantage here with this thing. It flips around. You can use a pen on it. It does just way more stuff. Has way better ports, of course. Speaking of, 2 USB Type-C ports. One is Thunderbolt 3 with the full 40 gigabyte 4 PCI lane thing. I know it's super important to a lot of people. The other one is just a Type-C 3.1. USB Type-A for your legacy stuff. Has a HDMI out because they got the space for it. And I'm trying to think what else it has on there. I'm missing one other port, but just a little bit of everything. Oh yeah, full SD card slot. So for your photo people out there, you get that. So
That's really nice.
yeah, I'm just I'm really excited about this thing. Picking it up. It's just like you get that same feeling. I hate when people say this, but it's true. It's the same feeling when you pick up a Mac. You're like, this is a beautiful quality device, and that's what the market needs. So,
What I love about 2017 and just the last couple of years with Windows machines is that it's so hard to pick a best Windows laptop now.
yes.
It's so difficult. Like before, it was easy. The answer most of the time was Mac, and it's not even a Windows machine.
Right. Yeah.
Now it is so difficult. There's so many great options to choose from. It's really amazing how OEMs have picked up their game over the last few years.
And what's cool too is like, and this is where I want to get into talking about the Spectre versus the XPS 15 versus the Razer Blade. Those devices are not the same. They're all different, and they have a lot of similarities, a lot of overlap, but their core, feature set is unique. So a Spectre is really good for, productivity, students, business people who need to do photo editing, or light editing kind of stuff, or someone who just wants a really nice laptop. XPS 15 though is a different beast. It's a quad core machine, and you're going to get that 1050 GTX. It's a much more powerful thing. You can get that 4K display. I prefer, and I have, and people are going to hate me for this, I have the full HD matte one because I just like it better, for my needs at least. But it's a different beast, right? Not everybody needs this quad core, all of this power. It's cool to have, but don't forget the XPS 15 is not a tablet. And there are no quad core machines, to my knowledge, that are convertibles that turn into a tablet and flip around. XPS 15 is a straight up laptop. For some people, including myself, that's actually totally fine. I have no issues with it. But if you're like one of the people like, I would love to use a pen for inking, I'd like to try that out, then you have the Spectre. Like, that's a different category device. And Razer Blade also is a device that is just so grown on me. Like, you would have to fight me to take this thing away. I don't know what it's about it. It's just something, I love the keyboard. Everything about it is just really cool. But again, that's a gaming machine. You can do productivity on it. You can use it for school. You can take it to a business meeting. But you're going to get 5, maybe 6 hours battery life out of it.
So if I asked you, between the Surface Book Performance Base, the newest XPS 15 you've got, the Razer Blade, and the Spectre 15, if I had to take 3 of them away from you forever, which one would you want to keep?
That's really, I don't know. It's almost not fair. And I'll tell you why. Part of it's like things like Service Book and the Spectre, both are convertibles or 2-in-1s with pens. I never use those. Having said that, I still use those devices because you can use both as a laptop and still have the best laptop experience.
Right.
The Razer Blade, I could probably give up the Razer Blade because as much as I love gaming, my lifestyle, I just don't have enough time to play gaming. So I use it because I can use it because it's great. But I could probably give that up. The XPS 15, yeah, this one has a fingerprint scanner and it makes a big difference. And so the XPS 15 for me, if I'm being realistic, is probably the Dan device. What my job requires me to use, that's the most rational device for me. I don't mind having convertibles. I don't really ever use convertibles, so it's like, it's cool to have, but yeah, that's for me. It's really, like I said, it's based on what you're going to use these things for. If you're like someone who games like only 20% of the time, you could probably get an XPS 15. If you're a person who's like, I game, 60% or 70% of the time and I use productivity the rest, well, the Razer Blade's for you. If you're a person who likes to ink and draw, or at least wants to get into that, then you want the Spectre. So you really have to think about, what you do, what you're going to use this thing for, and go for that device. And that's what's cool, though. It's like I said, none of these devices are the same. So it's a different discussion for each one of them. You just have to think about it.
Yeah, and again, that's another benefit of the industry these days. They're just all devices. It's not just the same thing over and over again. Each device maker are trying different things with their different devices, and that's very cool as well.
And they're doing, and like I said, each one of these devices are amazing in their own respective categories. Well, like the XPS 15, like I said, not everybody needs quad core. If you're just browsing the web and need productivity, quad core, okay, it's cool, but you could probably save the money and get something else. Let's turn to the HP Envy 34 curved all-in-one. Whew, that's a mouthful. You like this device a lot, right? Because you're a big curved thing. So do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, sure. So I am as Dan says, I'm a big fan of ultra-wide monitors. I currently use a 34-inch Samsung ultra-wide. I can't remember the exact model now. It's fantastic. I love it so much. I've had it for about a year, I think now, and it's the best monitor I've ever used. It's not 4K. It's like 2.5K, I think, or maybe 3K. It's still a great display. It runs Windows at 100% scaling, so it doesn't need any additional scaling needed. It just runs everything how you would expect. It's a lovely monitor. And I'm also a big fan of all-in-ones. But the problem is most all-in-ones on the market these days aren't ultra-wide. They're either standard 16 by 9, they're either like 1080p at 27 inches, which is just gross, or it's the Surface Studio, which is just way out of budget and just overkill for the screen. That isn't ultra wide. So HP have actually had an all-in-one on the market before that's ultra wide. Now they've got a new one, which is the NV34, and it's basically a streamlined, sexy all-in-one that's ultra wide.
It's actually an update. They did have this device out last year, but they removed a lot. They took the speakers out from the sides, they thinned out the bezels, and they did a lot of cool changes.
And Mark's been reviewing it on Windows Central, and from his review, he really likes it quite a lot as a Windows desktop machine. And I haven't tried one yet, but I also really like the look of it. It's got this, so much like the Surface Studio, the base of, or most of the PCs in the base of it, and it's got like on one side a touch sort of dial where you can turn the volume up and down, which I think is lovely. And on the other side, you've got a wireless charger, so if you have a device that supports wireless charging.
Everybody was so excited about that too.
Yeah, you just put your phone on it and it will just charge it for you, which I think is really, really nice. And it's just it's a really nice looking device. I really, really want one.
Yeah, the curved display, HP talked to us a lot about it and how they actually made it more curvy this time, which is kind of interesting. But they also kept the bezel very thin. It's one of the thinnest devices that they've made. They put very good speakers in it that are basically front firing with like a subwoofer in there, and they used a cloth, and of course they're B&O tuned, so they're going to be pretty good audio quality. Yeah, this is a really good machine that's meant for college students or people who live in New York City. I lived in city environments before. We have a tiny apartment where space is your computer is your TV. This device does a very good job for that. I mean, when I saw his photos of like playing movies on it, I was like, wow, that looks amazing, because the movie takes up the full screen. And it's meant to be used, when you sit in the middle of it, using it as a personal computer, the view is supposed to be very good with the wraparound. Obviously, curved displays, and they even pointed this out. They said, like, why do you want a curved display? Like, TV curved displays are okay, but they're not as, like, people are not as blown away by them, because if you have multiple people sitting trying to look at the screen, it's not the same experience. And so, but with a PC, they said it makes more sense because it's usually just one person using it, maybe two, and they're sitting a lot closer to it, so it makes more sense. But yeah, this comes with a bunch of video card options. Now the video cards are okay. They're basically going to be kind of laptop grade GPUs. Again, they're there to boost performance. Mark immediately went through, compared it to like high-end GPUs, which of course it's not going to do well against. And that's a limit here all the time with all-in-ones, is that's the price you pay. They're taking a lot of computers, squishing it to a small base. So the GPU performance, for most people, for most consumers, it's going to be totally fine doing video editing. Even for video editing, he was pretty surprised about how good it was. But yeah, really nice device, fairly well priced too. This is the kind of device you want like an office or on display, right? You would love to have people kind of see this. And it has an awesome selection of ports on the back too. So, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I if the next time I upgrade, because I have a tower PC which I custom built, but I really like the idea of an all-in-one because it's just so much cleaner. Like, I have wires everywhere, like down the back of my desk, and I know I can't see them, but in the back of my mind, I know they're there, and it eats me up every night. So an all-in-one fixes most of those problems.
Yeah,
and I think the nicest thing about the webcam as well is that you can click it in.
Right. Yeah,
so
the privacy webcam. Sure.
Yeah, which I think is really nice.
Yeah, what's nice about that is, of course, they kept the super thin bezel, but it allows it to pop out and use it when you want to. And it's also a Windows Hello enabled camera, so you get everything in that. Yeah, no, HP's... I said it over and over again. I used to see HP laptops in Best Buy and just cringed. I was like, ugh, who would buy those things? They're just the design of them was terrible, let alone sort of the quality. And I just heard, I just remember bloatware and all this kind of stuff. And the company has just really turned around. Mark and I keep going to these events with theirs, and we just come away like, this stuff is cool. And I will be taking a look at the Elite Book, which is like the X360 13-inch, but for business. And that device has a really cool feature that consumers may want, don't need though, which is their privacy screen. So if you ever worked in enterprise or, you're working on confidential documents, you can buy these digitized or physical things that go over your laptop's display. And what they do is it's like polarizing. You can see it straight on, so when you're working on it, it's fine. But if someone is even at a slight angle from you, or like looking over your shoulder, they can't read what you're writing on. And that's, you want to do that if you're on an airplane, right? You don't know who's sitting next to you. And you're writing some sort of document. Government employees need this too, right? So instead of doing a physical thing, it's digital. It's built right into the display. You literally click a button and the screen goes and this thing goes across it. Not physically, it's digitally, and creates this same effect. I don't even know how the technology works. I got to talk to him about it, but and it does that. And so that's super cool. I mean, again, I know some consumers are going to totally want this, but it's definitely, you can imagine enterprise and government really wanting that kind of device. But it's also the same thing. It's an X360. It flips around. I believe it does pen support, and it has all sorts of cool additional features and stuff like that. But hopefully I'll take a look at that in the coming weeks from HP. So very good. And I guess as we're wrapping up, so stay tuned for my XPS Tower Special Edition review, which should go up on Monday. That's Dell's new really cool tower. Actually, I really like it. I would classify it as an affordable gaming machine. You can buy this thing for about $1,200 with a 1070 GPU in it, and it'll be as performant almost as a Razer Blade Pro, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, that does it for me. What we have to look forward for you for next week?
Next week, I should have some coverage on the Surface Table that I've acquired. So I'll be doing sort of hands-on / where it is / review of the Surface Table with its original firmware. Then later in the week I should be doing some more coverage on it, but with the table running Windows 10, so running it with universal apps and whatever else, which I think is pretty exciting. I'll also talk about my process on how I did it. I won't write a how-to, because it's like that's a how-to for no one. Right. Essentially, but I will talk about the process and how it's difficult and how it's practical or impractical in some ways. So I'm very excited for that. I'll also I think I'll have my Brio 4K review done by the end of next week as well. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds very good. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel_Rubino, Rubino. I'll try to limit my political tweets this week. No promises, but I have been cutting back. So a lot more Windows snark and advice and tips. You can also follow Zach at Zach Bowden, ZACBOWDEN on Twitter, and you can also harass him. He loves direct messages. I'm kidding.
And okay, unless you have like a tip or like some secret news, I don't want to DM. You can tweet me.
Yeah, we're not also there to fix your computer problem. I'm sorry. If you do have a computer problem, though, or issues with Windows, I do advise you jumping into the Windows Central forums, which are some of the largest Windows forums around this planet. And a lot of very helpful staff that we actually will help you out and try to answer your questions or direct you appropriately. And our community is also very good. So that's for your laptop, that's for Windows and Windows 10 mobile devices as well. So make sure you hop in there if you have questions, or you just want to vent and tell people how much you hate Microsoft, or if you want to share advice and other tips. Who knows, maybe you could be the next star in our forums, but we definitely appreciate you doing that. So there you go.
Real quick, before we sign off, Microsoft just announced that tickets for Build this year will be on sale on Valentine's Day.
Cute.
So, prepare for that.
And yes, and I guess we should also mention we'll be at Build. I'll definitely be there. very good chance Zach's going to be there. I'd say probably 98%, which would be fun because Zach and I have never actually met in person, so that'd be kind of unique.
Do videos together, it'd be so cool.
Yes, and hopefully we'll get Mark Wim there as well, so that should be good. But that's coming up in May, so make sure you tune in for that. But there you go. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, we broadcast this live on Fridays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Beam and YouTube when we can, but we prefer Beam. And don't forget, you'll be able to start watching this on your Xbox Live eventually as Beam comes integrated into Windows 10 and Xbox in the coming weeks and months. So that'll be very cool. Don't forget to join us also on Thursdays for Microsoft Gaming and Libations, where me, Zach Bowden, and Jez Corden, our Xbox guru, get to play a game for 90 minutes. We tend to give out codes too for that game where you can win. And it's just us being casual, just having fun, and you can ask us questions and just watch us joke around. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.